Weight loss solutions are not one size fits all. Hers makes it simpler to get started and stick with a weight loss plan, backed by expert-guided online care that puts your weight loss goals first. These include oral medication kits or compounded GLP-1 injections. Through Hers, pricing for oral medication kits start at just $69 a month for a 10-month plan when paid in full upfront. No hidden fees, no membership fees. You shouldn't have to go out of your way to feel like yourself. Hers brings expert care straight to you with 100% online access to personalized treatment plans that put your goals first. Reach your weight loss goals with help through Hers. Get started at forhers.com/4u to access affordable, doctor-trusted weight loss plans. That's forhers.com/4u, forhers.com/4u. Paid for by Hims and Hers Health. Weight loss by Hers is not available everywhere. Compounded products are not FDA approved or verified for safety, effectiveness, or quality. Prescription required. Restrictions at forhers.com apply.
Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Let's Chat Reality. I'm Molly.
I'm Michael.
And today we're joined by very special guest, our dear friend Jenna. Welcome to the pod again, Jenna. We're glad to have you.
Thanks. I'm excited to be back.
Yes, and yesterday we were all together celebrating my birthday a little early because my birthday's this Wednesday. So some pre-celebrations with Michael in town. We went on a boat all together with some other friends. So that was just so much fun. Thanks so much again, Michael, for coming in, and Jenna, of course, for coming on the boat. And it was just a blast. But what we are really talking about today is we're going to be talking about the Dancing with the Stars season 38 premiere, which just started last week, which we're so excited about. And then also touching on some Big Brother, just some updates of the past few weeks or week or so of what's going on recently in Big Brother world. So shall we get started with Dancing with the Stars?
Let's do it.
Yeah, so for the premiere, we had a 2-hour premiere, which was great to see that all the stars and pros coming back on our screen. So what are your initial thoughts, Michael, on the season?
I was very excited for this season when the cast was first announced. And when we did a little draft last week, but when the cast was first announced, I was like, okay, I think that this is going to be a really competitive season because there didn't feel like there was anyone like, not to name names, but a couple of people from last season who we just knew from the very start was like, okay, they're not going to be able to really dance. And so it was just like a matter of time, like, okay, is it going to be like the first week or the second week that they leave? But with this cast, I was like, okay, I think that actually everybody has potential to get better as time goes on. Like, there wasn't anyone who was like really old or like really just, had something to where we knew they were just going to kind of be standing around. And I think that that makes it very fun. And there's also a lot of people who I think have a lot of dance experience and are going to be really, really good. So I think this is both on kind of the top and bottom end of this cast. It's very competitive, and this premiere did not disappoint. And I think that we are in for a really good season.
Agreed. What about you, Jenna? What do you think?
I'm absolutely stoked for this season. I love a lot of different people on the cast. Like, usually in past seasons, there have maybe been like 3 or 4 that I'm excited to root for. But in this season, I have like at least 6, 7, 8. Like, every person that came on, I was more and more excited to see. So I'm really excited about not only the potential for like some really awesome dances, like we've already seen some great ones, and it was only night 1. So I'm really excited to see each celeb keep growing with their pro.
Yes, for sure. And something unique about this premiere was that for the first time in over 20 years, Carrie Ann missed an episode due to her being sick. So we only had 2 judges instead of 3, which is our typical. So just had Derek and Bruno as the judges for this. So what were your thoughts on that? And did you think they should have made a replacement there, Jenna?
I definitely think Carrie Ann was very missed. I kind of thought that Derek and Bruno were a little bit all over the place. I saw some TikToks explaining
Bruno all over the place?
what a
No way.
concept. There's never been done before. I saw some like TikToks and stuff saying that usually whenever Carrie Ann is talking, that's when Bruno is kind of like finalizing his scores and stuff, and there's more of like a less of a consistent basis where he's talking first, where it was really kind of switching off between Derek and Bruno talking first and having to get their scores in. But like even at one point when Derek was supposed to be raising his paddle, he was voting online. I'm like, what is this? So I think that Carrie Ann was really missed in order to get them whipped into shape. Um, I do think it was the right decision not to find a replacement judge because I think the premiere is so like integral to the show. So I think like having someone step in, I think the only logical choice could have been Peta because she was there and Sasha Farber was already doing a TikTok behind the scenes thing, so he already had a role for the evening. Julianne and Alfonso obviously were hostings, and I don't think there was anyone else that was like would really be like a great replacement. So I think that them not replacing her was the right move, but I do think that they like definitely need her in order to balance them out.
Yeah, I did miss Carrie Ann. I mean, we complain about Carrie Ann a lot of times with, picking favorites and kind of wacky scoring sometimes, especially last year, but I did miss her. I think that if anything, they usually sometimes have four judges, sometimes four permanent judges in past seasons. And so, yeah, I agree that like it was kind of they were probably Derek and Bruno were having to score a lot quicker and do a lot of things, a lot faster than they're used to, and so that caused for some wacky moments. But the only reason why I do wish they had three judges is because I find it easier in future weeks to like compare the scores, and like and it's hard to do that now that they have weird scales that are off, and that's going to be a little bit tricky. But I do think also with so many couples and it being the premiere, probably we got a better timing of the episode with only having to watch two critiques versus to sit through three and then them having to rush through other segments, and it maybe made it breathe a little bit better. So it probably had its perks, but I did miss Carrie Ann, and I hope that she's doing okay because she also missed the GMA announcement, and so I really hope that I know she has gone through health issues in the past. I hope that she's doing okay and will be here for episode two.
Yeah, agreed. I feel like with three, it just makes more sense in the scoring of it. I was like, oh, we're only going to a score of 20 max right now. Like, that kind of feels weird. But I mean, it makes sense that they had to adjust based on the circumstances here. But hopefully, we do get Carrie Ann coming back shortly. But let's go through all of these dances and all of the couples we saw. So, starting with Jordan and Ezra. So we had them do the salsa to Break My Soul by Beyonce. And I just love the way this episode kicked off with them. I love Ezra, and he kind of obviously had a rough go around in his first season last year, having Anna Delvey there and then getting eliminated first. So I'm glad he got to have this redemption here with Jordan. I thought she did really well here. What are your thoughts on her dance?
Okay, Jordan did great. I will say I didn't love Ezra's choreography. I think that it felt very meant for TikTok. And I get it. Like that was, his thing last year and everybody loves all his TikToks and how he, played a very integral role, I think, in making Dancing with the Stars as culturally relevant as it is today. And let me just start out by saying ratings for this premiere were the highest that we've seen since 2020, which is crazy that a show is growing that much in its 34th season. So I do think that I credit Ezra and Riley a lot for that and bringing the younger audience in. But I do think that I would love for him to really not do that every week, this type of choreography. And maybe it's just because it was the first one and, it's exciting, we're trying to show Jordan's personality and all that. I would love for him to kind of be a little bit more mindful of sticking with the dance style that they are dancing and not just trying to create these TikTok trends and moments. Which I think we got a little bit of, but I am hopeful that next week he'll go a little bit more classic, and I think that Jordan has a lot of potential.
I thought that yeah, I also thought that she was great. I do wish there was more pure salsa in the dance. There was a lot of side by sides, a lot of tricks. But I think that she has a lot of room to grow, even though the first dance kind of looked a little bit awkward. But also, she might have been finding her rhythm. And I think one thing that I noticed when watching and rewatching the premiere is that the judges were scoring dances that were essentially like just the dance, not like a ton of side by sides and not a ton of kind of extra fun moments. Like they were scoring those dances a little bit higher. And I agree, I kind of enjoyed watching them a little bit more. They might have been using a middle part to make a reference to something, but yeah, I kind of enjoyed the more fluid moments, and it seems like the judges did too. They kind of were commenting on um, the lack of or the lack of integrity of the Latin dance, and they wanted more content from them. And she had some wobbly dismounts, and they want her to carry the movement through. But they said that she had a good first performance, and I agree. I think that she just needed to kind of hit the ground running, and I think that she and Ezra can continue to advance their partnership forward because they look like BFFs, and that's really cute.
Yeah, for sure. And I feel like the first dance is always so much nerves related to that too. And like especially with them being the first ones out there and starting off together as the season premiere. So I feel like they just were kind of nervous to start too. So I feel like more as they get through, like more dancing experience together and all that, like there's more room to improve for them in
Yeah.
terms of the more ballroom esque of it all too.
And they probably also got a little screwed by being the first ones to go. I think that always the first ones every night get a little bit screwed over because the judges don't have anything to compare it to the other couples that have danced that night. I think sometimes, the scores tend to kind of get higher as the night goes on a little bit, or sometimes get lower. Like sometimes they benefit by that. But I think in this case they may have gotten, I don't know, maybe like 1-6 if they had gone a little bit later in the night.
Yeah, because they got 2 5, so both judges gave them 5, so that's 10 for them. Which I was also surprised seeing that, but I think it is what you're saying, Michael, of them just being the first ones out, nothing to compare it to, that they couldn't really judge fairly entirely on that. But it's still decent score, pretty much. Like a lot of people got 10, so
I
it's still in that realm.
I do agree with the score that they gave them, especially kind of after watching and rewatching. I think that they were scored really fairly based on kind of the dance itself, and even kind of the tricks were sometimes a little bit wobbly too. So I think their scores were fair.
Yeah, I didn't have too much of a problem with it.
Yeah, agreed. And next up, we had Dylan Efron and Daniela. So I was so excited to see Dylan dance. We saw some TikToks of him and Daniela dancing pre-season, but hadn't really gotten like the full effect. And I thought he did pretty well. I mean, there's also still like some stiffness there in his dance moves and stuff like that. But he danced to Milkshake, so that was fun. The cha cha cha. And I just love Dylan, and I love to see him. I want to see him continue to grow, and I feel like he has a lot of potential here. And his score also was a 10. So similar judging as Jordan and Ezra. But what are your thoughts, Jenna?
And I agree with this score too. I think, first of all, he's so hot, so I always love to see him on my screen. But the dance itself was just a little bit confusing, a little bit gimmicky, a little bit like it was so inconsistent, and the judges were saying that too. And it was basically like he was doing a really great move here, and then he eventually, or all of this hadn't moved into just being like stiff as a board, not moving. The beginning with Bruno was cute, but there were just a lot of parts on why that I was a little bit confused about that were kind of slow and off time. So it was just kind of all a mess. But I think that he once he finds his groove, I think he'll be able to make some progress, and hopefully he'll be able to like he can only go up from here and can get some of his timing a little bit better because I think that's his biggest issue.
Yeah, I agree. I do think that he was stiff, and I think that he also, it felt like almost a little bit of like, I don't know, embarrassment, but just like a little bit like kind of I don't even know the word for it. Not low energy, but just like maybe a little bit of like
Stage fright.
yeah, or just like he was dancing a little bit small.
Mhm.
Like he was not like fully, just kind of like extending fully and like doing, I felt like a little bit of like somebody who almost is like a little nervous. So I think that in the future, as he gets more comfortable with it, I do think that he has a lot of room for improvement because I think he has a lot of potential. He showed that, and I think for a first dance, I think it was good. I just hope that I think if he can continue to get better and more comfortable every week, then I think he has a shot to make it pretty far.
Yeah, and his bestie Boston Rob was there to support him,
I
so that was
know.
cute.
Fun
That was so
cameo.
cute. And Chriselle.
Mhm.
Yes.
So
Bruno was
yeah.
saying that Daniela was kind of overpowering him a little bit, and that was one of the critiques, is to not let her overpower him because he's supposed to be like the strong lead, the strong male lead of the dance, and I agree with that comment.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good critique there. So I'm sure they'll take that forward and get better from here. But next up, we had Elaine and Alan, and Elaine really surprised me here. She did a really great job, I think, with this dance. I mean, she got the one of the higher scores of the night of having two sixes. Also the cha cha cha, and she had said that she had done dancing in her past but hadn't in a while, so you kind of could see that just she knew the rhythm and like the beats and everything. Like you could tell that she was definitely better at that side of things, that she had dance experience. But I like this. I like seeing her, and obviously like Alan's great too. So that was a fun couple, I think. So what are your thoughts, Michael? First.
I loved it. They were the surprise of the night for me. I really, really loved Elaine. I think that she is like the perfect person for Dancing with the Stars because it's somebody who doesn't, is not a dancer, does not like has some experience. So like she has very capable, even as like being a little bit older for this cast. She is still very capable of keeping up with everybody. And I think that she is just so much fun to watch. And I really, really loved it.
I loved her dance, and I thought like, I mean, there was maybe a time where I thought she might have been underscored even compared to like some of the other people that got sevens. Like I think she maybe could have gotten 1 7 and 1 6. That could have been a better score in my eyes. But I thought that her timing was so good, and that she had like a Broadway quality to her dance, and that she like finished her movements really well. And I just really enjoyed watching her. It was really fun to see Lisa Ann Walter, who plays Chessie, like just being so happy and so proud of Elaine. And the Parent Trap handshake was really cute, and just a call back to that. I just loved it. I feel so bad that she was hit by a car, and her dance career was like cut off by that, but she's like bounced back so quickly, and I'm really, really excited to see them.
Yeah, I agree. I think they're definitely gonna make it pretty far. I mean, already like she's already doing this well in week one. Like there's already good progress. I'm sure that's gonna come very soon for her. So I'm excited to continue to watch them. But next up we had Whitney and Mark. So Mark is back as a pro, which is exciting, and Whitney from Secret Lives. So very excited for this couple here. And obviously we had some high hopes of Whitney going into this, as she does also have dance experience, and she did the tango, and I thought she crushed it. I loved this dance, and also the judges loved it because they gave her a 7 and an 8. So I thought that it was great. And also the tango is I feel like a hard one for people to pick up in the first week especially, and so her getting this like immediately just shows that she's very talented. What do you think, Jenna?
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think she did so well on this dance. I think that Mark is an amazing choreographer, so I'm so happy that he's back. And I really appreciated about their dance and about some other dances down the line. He Mark makes such good space or use of the space and really takes his partner like all over the dance floor and gets lots of content. There's not a lot of times where they're not like moving or adding another element into the dance, but the dance is still so fluid. So I do really appreciate that about his choreography and also about Whitney's ability to kind of make that happen for the dance. Um, and these legs remind me a lot of Gabby Wendy's legs in terms of like how she's dancing. I with
Mm.
Gabby, she was like had like super high clicks that were or kicks that were very clean, and I saw a lot of that from Whitney as well. And I always love watching Gabby dance. So if like Whitney's anything like Gabby, that's kind of a weird comparison, but that's just kind of something I noticed. But she's just so pretty and she's such a great dancer, and I'm excited to watch her.
Yeah,
Yes.
I think there was, question of, okay, is Whitney or Jen gonna make it further? I think we might have answered that question tonight or this week. I think that Whitney and Mark are on another level. I think that Mark is, I mean, it's just such an incredible choreographer, and Whitney obviously is an incredible dancer. I I was wondering, like, why did Mark decide to come back now? Because I really thought Charlie was like the perfect ending for him as a pro. Not that I wanted it to be the end, but I really thought in his mind, like, it's not going to get better than Charlie D'Amelio
Mhm.
for him. And so, but now with Whitney seeing her first dance, I see, okay, he might have another win in him. I mean, not that I think that she has some competition here that we'll get to, but I think that there's certainly a good chance that I would not be shocked if Whitney ended up being certainly in the top 2 or 3 here. So Mark's going to have another really good season.
I don't know if Mark came back for Whitney. It kind of seems like he didn't know that she was going to be his partner whenever he joined on. I saw that he
Hmm.
came back because he wanted his son to be alive and see him
Oh
performing
yeah.
at a season at least whenever he was like alive and able to see his dad do what he does best, go to work, things like that. So that was the main reason from for his return based on an interview I saw with him. But I'm excited that he has like a really great partner to explore fun choreography with. Even if they get an
Yeah.
extra point added to their scores by Bruno's judging
Oh.
mistake.
I know that was funny. That was the first hiccup of the judging. It seemed like of the night when Bruno was holding up a 7 when he already locked in an 8. And then I was like, did they just read the wrong number? But then obviously, then they explained how they have to lock in their scoring before they actually pick up the paddles. So
Hmm.
that was funny. I mean, good for them. 1
Yeah.
point is going to change that much for sure.
Yeah. They were talking about that a bit on the official Dancing with the Stars podcast that is hosted by Joey Grazade. And Julianne and Alfonso were talking a bit about that, and they were saying how, like, back in the day they had to write their score, and then now they have this machine that they click on it, and that Bruno probably just clicked on the wrong number, and then you can go back and erase it and put in the right score, but then because it was so quick without Carrie Ann being there, that he just like accidentally locked it in and didn't notice, and so it was kind of a whole thing. But yeah, that was very funny that that happened. And look, I think it's great that it happened to one that, like, an 8 is deserved for this.
Yeah.
And this is something that always kind of bothers me with Dancing with the Stars. And let me just go on my soapbox for half a second here. Promise it'll be quick. But there's people who always say, like, oh, week 1, like, the scores shouldn't be so high like they were last season, like they should really have to earn it, and like there should be 2s and 3s and 4s and whatever. I think that the scoring should remain the same the entire time of the entire season. If a dance deserves to get a 10 in week 1, give them a 10 in week 1. If a dance deserves a 2 in week 1, give them a 2. I think that there should not be a dance that is so perfect in week 1 should not just get a 7 or an 8 because it's only week 1. When if you dance that exact same thing in week 6, it would have gotten a 10. I think that it should be the same throughout the whole season so you can actually legitimately see if you've improved.
Yeah. Good point. I mean, yeah, because it's all the dancing quality. So if it has the quality, like it should get the score.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if anything, it should be higher in week 1 because they don't expect as much.
Yeah.
Like, it should be easier to get a higher score in week 1 because it is week 1, and in week 10 it should be very hard to get a high score because they expect more of you. So if anything, I feel like it should be the opposite, but that's just me. Small complaint.
You should be a judge.
No, I should not.
You can give them feedback.
A judge for the judges. Yeah,
Yeah,
we'll do
that's
that.
the feedback for judges. But yes, but
Yeah,
yeah,
what if we could judge the judges? Like, every week we should, like, at the end of the episode, give the judges a score based on how good we thought they were that episode. I like that idea.
yeah,
It's a fun rating metric.
Yeah.
See how the judges improve week after week.
Right, exactly.
how do we agree with them and their scoring?
Yeah, us, all the audience who are very much known to be professional dancers.
How do we think the judges are running the show this week?
Yeah, that'll be like our Big Brother weekly Terran surveys of how the producers are doing this week. We'll do how are the judges of Dancing with the Stars.
That's
doing
what
this
I
week.
was getting at. So.
Yeah.
That's funny. Well, next dance we had was Baron and Britt, and they did the cha cha cha. And I thought this was a fun dance. I mean, obviously, Baron is an NBA player. I feel like a lot of the athletes have some high expectations going into it of just like they have abilities of like just choreography, like they can catch on to things I feel like sometimes that you wouldn't expect from some of these players. You're like, oh wow, like they're actually doing pretty well. And I thought he did decent. Like obviously there's a lot of room for improvement here, but he got a score of a 10, which I think that was a deserved score here. But what were your thoughts, Michael, on their dance?
Yeah, I mean, basketball players are very kind of hit or miss on Dancing with the Stars. Sometimes they're fine, sometimes they're very good, sometimes they are not, and they're very not light on their feet, and they can't get the rhythm. And so I think he did great. I think better than I expected. I will say. I think that he is one that I think there's a chance that he could be one of the two to go home this week. Would not be shocked just because his score was on the lower side for the night, and I don't know that he is going to have the fan base that some others do. So I think the combination of that could get him in trouble earlier than later. But I think that he was certainly better than I thought he would be, and I could see him very much improving as the weeks go on. So if he gets that chance, I could absolutely see him his scores improving.
I thought that he was maybe even a little bit underscored. I thought that he maybe deserved 1.6 and 1.5, like kind of in comparison to some of the other couples. I do think his pants were a little bit too wide, so maybe you couldn't see the full extent of his leg work and like how his legs were actually moving. I think they were really scoring very technically. They mentioned that he had like way too many heel leads, but like he does have the talent. He just has to do the dance right. So I think maybe Brett needs to work on his his feet placement a little bit. But I think it should have been a little bit more pure cha cha. But I didn't. I thought that the in between moments weren't as gimmicky as some of the other dances. So I did obviously appreciate that. I love Britt. I thought that they had a great energy together as a partnership, and I'm really excited to see where that goes. I really hope he doesn't get eliminated night one because like I would be really sad for Britt if that happened. But I think that they could like honestly become like a pleasant surprise of this season. Like there's always that one kind of more unknown celebrity to like kind of our generation. Obviously he has a lot of fans with his NBA career. My dad is a fan of him, so if that helps like anything. But I think that like I'm really hoping that he can pull through. But also another thing that I wrote down was there was a girl in the audience that looked like Lauren from Big Brother, but we'll get to that.
Oh. Oh, well, she escaped the jury house.
She did.
Wow.
CBS Studios. I'm just kidding.
It's true. They're very close, probably.
Yeah. Well, next up we had Alex and Val, and I was so excited to see Alex Earl on Dancing with the Stars. I've been following her on TikTok for a while, and I thought that she did an amazing job. She did the cha 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 as well, and I liked. I feel like there's been some criticism of her, like people saying like, "Oh, she was stiff and she didn't deserve these scores." But like, I think I really enjoyed it. I thought that she did a great job, and I think she did deserve the score she got. It was 7 and a 6 here, so I also like the fire aspect. They had some good theatrical aspects of it, and I think she just killed it for her first dance, especially, and not having any previous real dance experience. Like she really showed that like she also was able to pick this up really quickly, and I think that's a good tell of like someone who can do that week one, like just what there's to come throughout the season. There's a lot more I think we're going to see from her, which is going to be really exciting. So I'm excited to see her continue to grow, and I love Val as well. So I love this couple. What did you think, Michael?
Yeah, I really, really loved it. I think that Alex was somebody who, going in, everyone thought was going to just be kind of a ringer just because of her large fan base. Like, she'll post, vote for me, and half the people won't even be watching the show, but they'll still vote for her, not having any clue what they're voting for. So I thought, okay, well, she's at least going to make it to like top 7 or 8 just based on that alone. But I think that this showed me that okay, she deserves to make it far, whether she does or not based on her actual, people voting because they like her as a dancer or just because they like her as a person and TikToker. It doesn't really matter. I think that she deserves to make it far. So I was very pleasantly, I wouldn't even say surprised because I expected her to do pretty well, but I think she actually surprised me in a good way in that I think she was even better than I had possibly expected her to be. So yeah, I really liked it.
I'm a little bit lower on Alex than you guys,
Okay.
unfortunately. I thought that she should have gotten 2 6s, and I mean, maybe like the 7 was to play to her audience a little bit. I'm not even sure, but I do agree that the beginning was a sleigh. It was very fun. Um, I just noticed a lot of like similar to Dylan Efron, but like hers was a lot better. But she did like movements and then kind of stopped, and then like it was a choppy transition from one move to the next. It needs to be a lot more fluid, and I noticed that like several different times throughout the dance. But when she was good, she was really good. But when she like was in those transitions, she was just kind of stopping and kind of like doing a checklist instead of like a full fluid
Mhm.
thing. So I'm excited to see her and Val kind of make those tweaks. I do think that she can get there, and I'm sure her next dance will be better. I just like I was a little bit underwhelmed after seeing like some of the TikTok videos that and sneak peeks that her and Val were posting. Like I was really impressed by her skills, seeing those videos, and they some of those skills did translate into the dance. I was just like that kind of raised my expectations a little bit more. Not to say that I don't think Alex did a great job. I do. It's just I think that maybe she was like a little bit underscored based on the non-fluid part of her dance.
Yeah, that makes
Yeah.
sense. I mean, in TikToks, we're also only seeing like a few seconds of those, so
Yeah,
maybe that's part of it where it's like you
true.
want them to be more cohesive together, and then they didn't have that as much in their dance. But the parts of it were great.
Yeah, I think I need to go back and watch it. Because I don't remember noticing that on hers, but I think that what you said is a great way to describe what I was trying to say about Dylan. Is the fact that he just kind of like would make the movement and then stop it. Like that was really what I was trying to say and didn't I don't think said well. So I'm glad that you put it that way because that put in my mind like, yeah, that's kind of exactly what I was trying to say about Dylan. So maybe that does apply to Alex as well, and I just kind of didn't notice it the first time that I watched it. But I certainly believe that I will probably notice that now.
Yes. Yeah, but there's more room to improve for all these couples. But next up, we have Scott and Riley. And so here they did the tango. And obviously, love Riley as a pro. I love seeing her. And Scott is fun. I'm glad he's here on this season. I think that they're a really good partnership here. I think that their dancing obviously can improve, and Scott knows that as well. I mean, he was already working on frame, and I think he did improve on that from his practices. So you could see like some of that in their TikToks and seeing that it did work. He did got better at that, but there's still more work to be done. And I think that he knows that, and Riley knows that as well. So the score of a 10, honestly, maybe was a little too low for them for this week, but I think is kind of fair in regards to just the progress that they can do in the future. Maybe they had more expectations for them, and that's why they're scored a little bit lower.
Yeah, I agree. I thought that maybe if they had at a 5 and a 6, it would have been a more fair score for them. But I liked the tango choreography a lot when they were doing the actual tango together. I really liked that, and I thought that they were good and strong. I agree about the frame, but that's something that the judges were harping on a lot. So I'm really hoping that they can take those notes into account. But I thought that the middle part or in the side by sides needed to like be a little bit less and have more actual tango content going on. But I thought that they were had a lot of great energy. I thought that they were a really fun pair. I love Scott. I've been a Pentatonics fan since I was in high school, maybe even earlier than that. I saw them on the sing off, so I was really excited to
Oh,
see
yeah.
him like join the show. And I did notice that the Pentatonics tour schedule maybe conflicts with some of the later dates in the show. So I'm like very interested to see how they'll be able to make that work. It was pointed out to me that they don't have shows on Mondays or Tuesdays, but I really like am kind of wondering how that will work. So I'm not sure if I like have super high hopes for them making it to a finale or anything like that because of that, but I'm not really sure. I'm not trying to lean into a conspiracy or anything. That's just something I noticed that I wanted to bring up.
That wouldn't be the first time that a conspiracy theory like that happened. I remember with Kenya Moore on a few years ago that when she was eliminated like the night before Real Houses of Atlanta was supposed to start filming, and everybody was like, "Okay, if she's eliminated tonight, like suddenly," because it was kind of not expected,
Mm-hmm.
and then they were like, "If this happens, just know that that's because Atlanta's about to start filming," and then it actually happened, and it was like everybody who was conspiracy theorists just like ate that up. So we'll see if this also aligns with that. But yeah, I think with Scott, he was one of the few. Oh,
The kitty.
kitty break.
Yep. Kitty wig.
Is that Pinot or Mozart?
Mozart. He wanted to give his
Oh,
opinion on the dances too.
yes. What score would he have given Scott and Riley?
Probably a 5 and a 6 because he agrees with me.
Yes, of course, of course. But I would say that Scott was one that I was actually a little bit underwhelmed by, which was very rare tonight or with this episode. I think that most of them I was surprised in a good way. I think I was a little bit surprised in a negative way with Scott. Like I expected him to be a little bit stronger with the footwork and with the frame, but I think that with Riley. I have a little bit of a similar concern as with Ezra. Not so much that like I think she was leaning into the TikTok of it all, but I think that she was a little bit not showcasing his skills with the choreography. I think as much as I would have liked. I think that it was a little bit too. I don't know. You think you said gimmicky earlier, Jenna, with somebody. Like I think it was a little bit gimmicky. I felt like, and I think it was entertaining choreography. I just wish that for this first episode specifically, because I feel like this one is so important to set people's expectations, and I think that I would have liked for her to showcase his skills a little bit more.
Yeah, I see that. I feel like for sure they'll improve on that though, because I mean the first week obviously like things it happens so fast and everything too. I mean, but they have 2 weeks or so to prepare, but or more than that. But I think hopefully it will get better in terms of their more like togetherness and their dancing and everything
Hmm.
like that. So more to come. And then next up, we had Danielle and Pasha, and they really surprised me here in a good way. I love this dance. It was another tango, and I thought Danielle did a great job. Also, she had shared she had done dancing in the past as well, so you kind of could see that in her movements and everything. It seemed more fluid here, and I think that there's also more room to improve. But I think for her first week for her, this was great, and she got a score of a 12, which is pretty high scoring for this week.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
I love.
No, sorry, go ahead, Jenna.
Sorry, I love the dance. The judges thought that she was a breath of fresh air, and I completely agree. I loved her story of surviving breast cancer and using "Stronger" as her personal anthem to kind of come back and start her year of yes, which is something that she pointed out in her package. But I just thought her dance was so full of content again, which I love. Like, I think Pasha did a really great job, similar to Mark, of using the entire floor and kind of having them travel like all around and doing like strictly pure tango with like some fun choreography moments like kind of in between. I just thought it was a really great dance. And I am also rooting for Danielle because I really love the podcast that she started, Danielle with the Stars. I've loved listening to it, and I want her to continue as far as she can so I can keep listening to that podcast. So,
Yeah, she said that even though if she gets limited, she'll still do it
oh,
though. So I
good.
mean, but it'll be fun to have her like doing it while she's on the show. But I also listened to it after your recommendation, and it was also a great podcast. So I
Yeah, okay, y'all don't hate me for this. I really wasn't too familiar with Danielle before this, but I really enjoyed it. Yeah, I thought she was great, and yeah, I think has so much potential here. Like Elaine, I think that she's somebody who's just so perfect for this show and just like feels like just a classic Dancing with the Stars casting, and I think that she's going to be really really fun to watch, and we stand Kelly Clarkson, so I loved it.
Yes, I know that was a great song choice. So next up we had Jen and Yan, who was previous Taylor Swift backup dancer. I'm repping my Eras Tour sweatshirt in honor of Yan. Also, just love the sweatshirt. But I thought that this was fun. They did the salsa, and it was a good dance. I think seeing like obviously this is Yan's first ever season as a pro, and I think with that like his choreography I thought was pretty good. Like maybe there were too many flips, which they were saying as the judges and everything like that, but Jen seemed like she was having a blast, and I think that's like an important part too of Dancing with the Stars, just like having someone like as a star like enjoy themselves. And so like that was fun to watch them together here, and they got a score of a 12 as well, so pretty decent scoring for them here as well. So what were your thoughts, Jenna?
I thought it's amazing that she's doing this 8 weeks postpartum, which is crazy. I loved Jan's choreography. I think that he's like really a professional, but I agree with the comments that the judges had about the lifts and the tricks. Bruno said she was like attacking the air, but she's good enough to not have to do that, and it stops the flow of the dance. Which I agree. I think like they would have worked if she was maybe a little bit like quicker with some of those tricks. But I think maybe if they had like a few less, like after a rewatch, I did think that there was less, or there were a lot more tricks than I initially had realized. But I wish they salsaed together a little bit more, because when they were kind of doing that together, it was really really fun. But overall, I really like this pairing. I really love Jan, and I what my favorite part of watching their one of my favorite parts of watching the Eras tour was the lover dances. And so Jan specifically, like you could just tell how great of a partner dancer he is. He's just incredible, and side by side, his dance with Jenna on Instagram is incredible. I just am really excited to see what he brings to it. And I think we were talking about the Whitney and Jen comparison, I guess, but obviously I feel like they're just two different types of dancers. I think Whitney is very powerful and like will get to the end of the competition, but that doesn't mean that Jen won't make it far too. And I think that she like has a lot of potential to have a lot of fun dances. And I think that as Jan kind of gets into the groove of Dancing with the Stars a little bit more and kind of what the judges are wanting, I think he'll make some really good choreography for them.
Yeah, I agree. I think it must be very difficult for somebody brand new to come into Dancing with the Stars like this because honestly, he's the first brand new person in a while because Ezra was in the troupe before he was a pro. Riley was on Dancing with the Stars juniors, and of course just like had the Lindsay connection, and so was very familiar and kind of in the Dancing with the Stars family before she was officially a pro. So, Jan is coming into this completely brand new, and I think that must be difficult for the first dance, especially to be like, I want to show off, what I can do as a choreographer and as a dancer. And I think that he probably relied a little bit too much on those flips and tricks. But look, Carrie Ann was out, so get them all out now while you can. So I think that he'll improve, he'll learn what to do and what not to do as the weeks go on, and I hope that he gets that chance. I think with Jen as a partner, he has a lot of potential to make it pretty far here. Jen's great. I think that we can't blame her for the choreography, and I think that she executed it very well. So I have a lot of hope for her to not be one of the first few out at the very least, and so I think that will give Jan a chance to get more comfortable and for us to be able to kind of see what he can do as a choreographer.
Yeah, totally agree. I'm excited to see what's to come for them. And next we had Corey and Jenna. So they did the tango as well here. And I thought that obviously we heard like with Corey missing some of those early rehearsals, they had said like they were kind of not weren't sure what his skill set was gonna be. But actually I thought he did okay. I mean, obviously like not comparatively, like not gonna be going far because of all the other strong dancers we have. But Jenna is just a great pro, and I think she was able to like also make it look better than maybe it would have been. So I think that it was good overall. Just not gonna make it too far, I would say.
Yeah, I think that Corey has a lot of potential to be one of our first ones out this week. And look, I think that he actually I think did better than I expected given the fact that we knew that he was not rehearsing a whole lot. So I think that given what the information that we had going into it, I kind of expected him to be a little bit more like, some of the early boots we've seen in past seasons that have literally just kind of stood there and be danced around, and that wasn't really the case. He did, I think, in another season, I think he may not have been the lowest score, but because the season is so competitive, unfortunately, that just kind of didn't work out in his favor, and he ended up tied for the bottom here. But I think that he did fine, and I am interested to see what he'll do this coming week.
Yeah, I liked his dance better on my rewatch of it. I think that he did well for his skill level and was really trying his best, and you can tell how grateful he is to be there, which is sweet. I liked his kind of moonwalking and his little like nods to Michael, considering he was like what or was with or working with Michael on Thriller. I thought it's cute that was used to be friends with Alfonso. That was sweet to have them together again. I think he was a little bit overscored. I think he should have gotten 2 4s, just kind of in comparison to everyone else, and everyone else who like did get a 5. I don't think that his dance was at the same level of the other couples that got 2 5. So I think that he might have got should have gotten 2 4s in comparison. But I think that he tried his best, and that's all you can ask, and was putting in some effort and stuff like that. But I agree. I think that I can see him leaving next week. So we'll see.
Yes, definitely lots to come, but hopefully we'll see. Well, obviously the episode's coming out very soon, so we'll get to see that pretty shortly if he makes it or not. But next up, we had Lauren and Brandon. So this was a fun one. I thought Lauren actually surprised me here. Obviously, she's part or was part of Fifth Harmony, and
Maybe is they reunited.
well, that's true. They are. I guess they're reunited now. I don't know. But Lauren and Brendan did the tango, and it was fun. I thought that this choreography was really good here too. Credit to Brandon, and obviously Lauren had to do like dances, like in like performance and stuff like that, but like nothing like this kind of structure. So I thought that she did a great job in learning this first dance. I think that there's more to come from her, and her score was pretty high as well. She got a 7 and a 6, so that was good from the judges' perspective. So what did you think, Michael?
Yeah, I really loved it. I actually like had a roller coaster with Lauren because I came when she was announced, I was like, "Oh, she's going to do really, really well," because I mean, we've seen two others from One Direction do very well
Fifth
on Dancing with
Harmony.
the Stars. Oh, what did I say? One Direction?
One
Oh my god.
Direction.
I don't even know
I
where
wish we
that
had
came
One
from.
Direction.
I wish it was One Direction.
From Fifth
Oh my
Harmony, excuse me, and they've both done very well. Neither of them have won, but they both made it very, very far. So I had a lot of hope for Lauren, but then I kept seeing people like kind of not having that high hopes for Lauren, and so I was like, oh, I guess maybe she's not going to do as well as I expected. And then she did great. So yeah, I think she, especially given the fact that she had less time knowing she was on the show than anyone else, and so thus less time to potentially prepare. I think that she did fantastic, and I have very high hopes for her.
I agree. I thought that she was scored very fairly. I would have given her those scores. I was so pleasantly surprised by her, because I had also seen comments of other people just being like kind of mixed on um, her as a dancer. But I think it might be because like her group Fifth Harmony kind of always got ridiculed for not being cohesive in their dancing and not like being on time. But I was really pleasantly surprised. Like I said, I thought she was really elegant and sophisticated. She was like the only person who received praise about her frame from the judges, and they said that her frame was consistent throughout. I agree. I again like really liked that Brandon had her all over the floor and gave her lots of content and gave her lots of tango content specifically. But I think she was really fun and confident and like kind of sexy, sultry, all of those things. I thought that I think that she'll just make a really great impact to the season. So I'm excited to see how she does.
Yeah. I agree. So next up we had Andy and Emma, and they did the cha cha cha. And Emma seems to always get paired with the older men of the season. But Andy, I think, did a really good job for what I was expecting from him. Like I thought I was gonna get less of what he did. So like I was happy seeing his performance here. Obviously, they're probably not gonna be going super far in the season. But if he has a lot of fans, like I mean, he does. Like maybe they'll vote for him and bring his scores up. But he did get a 5 and a 4, which also the 5 maybe was a little bit overscored there. I was surprised to see him get a 5 and then have that dance versus when Scott and also Jordan getting 5s and their dance and Dylan. Like I feel like the scoring here was like maybe because they expected less
Yeah.
of him. They're like, oh, you get a 5 also. But
Wow, a five.
yeah. But I think they did a good job. Like I think Emma obviously does a great job with getting people to move who don't always want to move in certain ways like that. So I liked it overall, and I think Andy has a great personality. I think that also helped him in terms of just like adding that, like the facial aspect, like facial what's the word I'm looking for? Facial
Expression?
expressions, yeah. I know it's right there. Facial expressions. And I think that was fun. Just him seeing him get out of his element was a good time. So what did you think, Jenna, first?
I thought that he is a ball of energy. I'm gonna be really sad when he does eventually leave early. Um, that's I'm just putting it out there. Maybe he might make it past this first elimination, but I wouldn't be surprised if he went home soon after that. Unfortunately, because he just seems like he had a lot of fun. Again, is grateful to be there. I think I appreciated his effort the most a lot. Like I think he's really giving his all to the competition, and I really appreciate that because sometimes you could tell when celebrities like don't put their all into it, don't give as much effort as needed. But I thought he was good for his abilities, kind of similar to Corey. I think he was a little bit overscored, but I hope that his him and Emma can kind of get their timing a little bit better and get a little bit more on point. But excited to see his dance for week 2.
Yeah, Emma is so good with these older stars. I think, I hate that she always has to have the people that don't have, have a lot of potential to make it very far. But I think she is just so good with them that it's almost hard not to give them to her because it gives them the best shot at making it far, I think. So, I think that Andy is so much fun. He's very reminiscent to me of like Reginald Vell Johnson last season, where he's just like he's not going to be the best technical dancer, but just so much fun to watch. And you just smile the whole time you're watching him. And I think he is much better than Reginald Vell Johnson
I
at
agree.
dancing. And so I think he actually, if he were to make it 2 or 3 weeks, I wouldn't be upset about it because I think that he actually does have potential to improve and he isn't just standing there and being danced around. So I really enjoyed it, but I do think that the 5 and 4 was fair.
Yeah, for sure. And the second to last dance of the night was Hilaria and Gleb, and they did a cha 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 as well. Obviously, Hilaria has some previous dance experience here, which you could tell, and she did a great job here. I feel like with Gleb, and there's, I mean, obviously controversy around Gleb with everything, also with Brooks and all that she's saying about him. But I thought that the dance itself was really good, taking away all the outside noise. And I liked seeing them together on the dance floor. There seemed to be some chemistry in terms of the dancing there, and they did well in terms of like movement and everything. Hilaria just seemed to be, I mean, obviously she has previous experience, but she's had like that flow and stuff to her already. I think that's good to see in the first week. So I think there's some potential for them to make it decently far, if they can get the votes. But they got scores of 7 and 7. So I thought that was a pretty fair judgment there. What did you think, Jenna?
I thought that they were scored fairly. I think she's so talented, and I think her lore is so funny, and the fact that she beat Emma Slater in a competition is just like very funny to me. But
Insane.
insane. But then she broke her hip, so whatever. I think that there was a great song choice for her. The "Let's Get Loud." I think it was a really like good song for the cha cha. There was a lot of good content. I think that they like it was the most pure cha cha. I sound like a judge in all of my um all of these notes that I'm having, but I just really I thought she was really performing and she did really well. And but I don't know if she'll have the votes to make it far just because like of I mean her like I don't think she's like I don't know about her fan base, and I know that people are kind of mad at Club right now, so I don't think that they'll go out first or anything, but I don't know if like they'll go all the way, so it'll be interesting to see kind of where they end up. But I'm excited to watch her dance some more, and like I think she's really entertaining.
Yeah, I did not know of the extent of Hilaria's dance background before the first episode, so it's insane that she was the last person to go in our draft last week,
I
Molly.
know. No, that's what I was thinking too. I was like, wow, I didn't realize she was actually good.
Okay, but I will still defend it because I think that without knowing that information, that she literally beat Emma Slater in a dance competition, she was partnered with Gleb. Like, first, she is also probably like, not to say that she's as controversial as some people they've had in the past by any means, but like, she's not the most beloved celebrity that's on this cast. And then she's paired with not the most beloved pro at this time on this cast. And so I thought, okay, assuming she's going to be like technically dance wise somewhere kind of like maybe right in the middle, then just the lack of fan bases on both ends would get her to be more towards the bottom of the pack in terms of potential to make it far in the competition. Now, the fact that we know she's literally like a professional dancer, that does change things. That I think her scores will be high enough to get her to at least kind of the middle of the season. But I still could see her not like being kind of a surprise boot, like in the like your Sabrina Bryan, if you will, like someone who's like technically really great, just doesn't have the fan base to get past a certain point in the competition. So that's kind of my guess. But I mean, technically, she's incredible, of course.
Yeah. For sure. And last up, we closed the night with Robert and Whitney. So everyone was anticipating them being great this season, and they were. I love seeing Robert here. Obviously, his sister won a while ago with Derek. And
10
so
years ago.
how many years?
10 years, a decade
10
ago.
years. Yeah. So it's been a while, but then they even were like, "Oh, Robert, were you dancing since then? Like 10 years ago, you were practicing?" But they did the jive, and I thought that it was fun. And Robert did really well with the choreography, and Whitney's just a great pro as well. So I was great. It was really great to see them and to have them close out the night. They got a very high scores of the 8 and 7. This 8 was meant to be an 8 and 7. So it was great to see them. What did you think, Michael?
I mean, cue the Zach Ransom meme. Like, just give them the money already. What are we doing here? Like, I mean, he's incredible, and I think he just like his partnership with Whitney is so perfect that I think everyone expected him to be partnered with Riley originally, but him with Whitney is just it makes so much sense. It fits perfectly. She's an incredible choreographer, of course, and he is incredibly talented, and just the two of them together are a lethal duo. So I think that really, to me, his only potential competition is Whitney and Mark in terms of getting the win here. I think that the two of them are going to be kind of like potentially trading top spots on the leaderboard week after week. But I think Robert has the edge here. I think he's going to end up being our winner.
I've watched this dance probably like 80 times. I know that's an over exaggeration, but I have I love it so much. I've definitely watched it back quite a few times. It definitely exceeded my expectations because Robert and Whitney did not post a single bit of them dancing on TikTok or anything beforehand, which is just like made me a little bit like hesitant on my thoughts on them. But they totally over delivered, and I can't believe he's only 21. He's such a cutie. His feet were pointed during his little toe touch jump over moment. Like I loved watching it. I thought that they deserved 2 8s. If Alex got a 7, sorry not to rag on Alex, but like even in comparison to like Hilaria, like I think he should have gotten 2 8s. But that's just my opinion. But I think they're starting from somewhere that they can move up and grow. But I loved him. Another thing I wanted to point out was they were the only couple that got a jive, and I think having if you have a partner who has feet that they can like be quick on for getting a jive for the first dance is like a really um good thing for them. Like I think back to Riley and Steven last season, they got a jive as their first dance and everyone was super impressed by it. They ended up taking that dance on tour. Like it was definitely a memorable dance for Steven. And I think the same is the case for Robert. I think like it's very interesting that he's the only one that got a jive and other couples didn't. So that might have given him an edge for this first night that everyone can't stop talking about hit the dance in comparison to others. But I'm excited to see him like dance some of these styles that the other couples were dancing so we could see kind of how he fares in kind of a similar style to them. But like I definitely think this was a great choice for him and such a fun dance, such great choreography, and excited to cheer them on the rest of the way.
Yeah, and for what it's worth, if you look at YouTube, just the views, the number of views on each of their performances, like he's over a million already, and everyone else is at like maybe a couple 100,000, if that. So, like, for what it's worth, his people are really concentrating and gravitating towards him and his first dance versus anyone else. So, I think that that also potentially shows how large of a fan base and how excited for him people are.
Yes, for sure. Well, there's more to come with Dancing with the Stars. Obviously, this is only week one of the premiere we got. So we're excited to keep watching and seeing the growth throughout the season for all of these couples, for whoever gets to far and continues on with all the votes and everything. So I'm excited to continue watching.
Well, and before we move on, let's predict who do we think is gonna be eliminated here. We have two couples going home this week. Jenna, who do you think those two couples are gonna be?
I think that Corey and Jenna will definitely be one of the couples that go. And I hate to say it, I think that Andy and Emma will probably be the other couple. But if not them, maybe, and also unfortunately Dylan and Daniela. That's my wild guess. I
Ooh.
know, very sad to say, but if I had to choose another couple, it might be them. So any of those three, maybe. I would hate to see it,
Okay.
but
Yeah, that'd be sad. I think it
I,
would be Corey and Jenna for sure, and then I'm just gonna go with Andy and Emma just since that's based on the scoring and the talent of them. I think that those two just make the most sense.
I'm gonna agree with Corey and Jenna. I think I'm gonna go with Baron and Britt as my other choice, just because I feel like he is kind of that classic. Like scores are kind of towards the bottom, not at the very bottom, but just doesn't quite have the fan base to lift him up as high as some of the others who maybe got similar scores. So I think those are gonna be my guesses, but
Well, we
we will
shall
see.
see. Now, shall we get into
Yes,
Big
we will.
Brother?
Yes, let's move on to some Big Brother. So it's been a couple weeks since we've covered Big Brother. I think last time was right after the unfortunate Rachel elimination. So a lot has happened since then, which I don't think we necessarily thought was going to be the case. I think we all kind of thought we were going to be checked out after that and that nothing else was going to happen. And during Lauren's HOH, that may have been the case a bit, but then we got an HOH that was pretty interesting, and it was a Vince HOH for most of the week, and then of course we had a double. But let's go back just for a second. And Jenna, it's been we haven't heard your thoughts at all this season because when we had you on, it was before the season actually started for our draft. So what have been your thoughts on the season as a whole here?
I love this season. I know that a lot of people have a lot of mixed opinions on the season. I haven't been this invested in a season in a really long time, and it did have the one Lawrence HOH week right after Rachel got eliminated. That was really dry for me, but I think every other week I've been so invested. We've gotten a lot of outcomes or competition outcomes, boot orders that have been really satisfying to me. I constantly have people that I'm cheering for, cheering against, and the episodes are have been really interesting throughout. So I think that's a good kind of caliber by or good kind of metric by which I kind of judge my seasons. I definitely don't think that this cast is strategic or that strategic. They have like a few, like Ashley and Morgan very are still pretty strategically minded. I think Ashley's the most strategic out of the remaining bunch, but I'm excited to see what happens with the in the end game. But overall, I've really loved this season. Having Rachel on was just a great blessing. I've loved people like Will. I loved Ashley. I have loved my up and down arc with Morgan. Loved her, hated her, loved her again, and now she's like probably my winner pick. Not to spoil that, but I just really loved watching this season. It's been very enjoyable for me, and I have loved like watching the feeds and just it'll always remain dear to me, despite maybe not having the most strategic cast. It's just been a lot of fun to watch.
It really, really has. It's certainly unpredictable, I think, is a word to describe BB27. If you're going to just use one word, I think it could be unpredictable because you always think, oh, well, this is obviously going to happen because that's what makes the most sense. And then, of course, that's not ever what happens because nobody in this cast has any sort of game sense. And for someone like Taryn Armstrong, who watches the show for strategy, maybe not your favorite season, but for someone like me who watches it for the mess, it's been very messy. And I agree with you. I've really, really enjoyed it. But Molly, last we talked, it was right, of course, when we were maybe a little bit more down on the season, right after Rachel left. But have you been more invested since then than you thought you would be?
Yeah, I feel like with all the stuff with Vincent Morgan, it's brought me back into thinking, oh, maybe this is more exciting than I thought. And I have been watching it still. I mean, I like took a week off and then I like caught up and everything because I was like, I want to not think about it for a week and then I'll think about it again. But I think that now as we're getting really close to the finale, I'm like, okay, I can do this again for the final few weeks here.
Yeah.
And it's been enjoyable, as you said, very unpredictable. So that's been fun. And just as we're getting close to the end here, seeing who ends up winning is going to be exciting as well. So I'm still watching.
Yeah, I think you're not alone in needing a week off from it and then coming back to it. So I think a lot of people kind of had that strategy there. But I mean, you mentioned Vincent Morgan.
Yeah.
Let's talk some Vorgan here. So that has really been our entertainment for the past week, is just the dynamic between the two of them. And Lauren, of course, was thrown in there until her eviction and during the double. But Jenna, what has your thoughts been on Vorgan, especially this last week or so?
Oh my gosh, Vorgan has just provided all the drama throughout this season. It's been really interesting to see their relationship specifically after their other allies have left. I think that's really where once the judges had formed and Zach had left and Mickey had left and all these kind of like outside factors had left the game, it really gave them a chance to like actually work together. And I think Morgan has had a hold on Vince the entire game. He had a dream about her during week one. I think he's been pretty like kind of enamored with her from the start, and I think that's really like coming to fruition now. And maybe we didn't see that in kind of some of the earlier weeks because there was Morgan and Zach drama and like all of that. But it has just been really interesting to kind of see their relationship, their dynamic, and also Morgan's control over Vince. And I think like the fact that she was able to get him to put Lauren on the block over Ashley, and he didn't really even consider putting Ashley up that week. It was either put Lauren up or Morgan's not going to use the veto. Ashley was not a part of that. That was because of Morgan and like the work. Well, it was the work that Ashley was doing on Morgan, but it was Morgan's influence over Vince to prevent him from doing that. And so I think that really shows like what a hold she has over him. But like their constant like back and forth, their long conversations. Like I've watched a few of them live on the feeds and stuff like that. So it's definitely been a huge source of entertainment. And even last night there was a long conversation in bed, like, and that has game implications. So it's all really entertaining. They're very fun to watch. Just kind of for the mess of it all, and obviously there's outside factors and everything like that. But I think them in the house, just like kind of ignoring all of that, has just been a really fun dynamic to watch throughout. And they definitely have given a lot of life to this end game, and it's just been really great to see. And I haven't really been bored, even though the finale is a week away and we're down to 5 people. Like the mix of them and combined with a few instances of outside mess has just like really brought the season back to life. So I've really enjoyed watching them.
Yeah, it is kind of crazy that we're down to the final five and there is still this entertainment factor, because at least the last several seasons, when we get down to the final five or so, we're really kind of like it's pretty boring. It's pretty dull. The winner's usually kind of telegraphed at this point, or at least the final two. And excuse me, and it feels like this season there is still this entertainment factor, and maybe it's not necessarily the most exciting of who's going to be evicted. I think, we'll get to it, but that's pretty obvious. But there is still this factor of like, is Vince going to cut Morgan before the end? Like, what's going to happen between the two of them during this last week here? Like, they're just constantly fighting, making up. And so it's been very, very entertaining to watch. But let's, before we get into like our final five here and break them down, let's just very quickly do a post-mortem on Kelly and Lauren here. So they were evicted during the double. Molly, what were your thoughts on the double eviction as a whole? All three of us watched together, which was very fun. And what were your thoughts on Kelly and Lauren being evicted here?
Well, I was excited to see Kelly finally get evicted. She's been on the block so many times, and it was time. It was ready. She was bound to leave at this point. Like if she didn't win Blockbuster, which she didn't, obviously, it was time for her to go. So I was glad to see her evicted here. And then with the double, obviously, like with Morgan winning that, it kind of was expected that Lauren would be nominated there, and also with Keanu. So then Keanu ended up winning another veto for himself. So then Lauren against Ava just made sense. Obviously, Lauren was the one to be evicted. So I mean, she was already all packed up because she thought she was already on the block. So at least that was ready. But I think obviously with Lauren there, she wasn't always the most entertaining. So I was also kind of ready for her to go. So I was happy with these two leaving.
Yeah, my only worry with Lauren being evicted was that it would make Morgan and Vince kind of just be on the same page and all of their fighting would end because that was what they were fighting over was him picking Lauren over her. But they've still found things to fight over since then, so not to worry. I should have known better than that.
They're an old married
But
couple. They're always going to find something to bicker about.
truly, they really, really are. But let's just kind of give a very brief overview of what has happened since then, since the double. So Vince won HOH yet again, and he nominated Keanu and Ava. Morgan won the veto, and the eviction has not yet happened, but this is a sped up final week. So it is set to, we're recording this Sunday afternoon. It is the eviction set to either be today, potentially, maybe tomorrow. We don't know exactly. But once that is over, they're going right back into another week. And by the end of Thursday's episode, we will be down to our final three. So Keanu is set to be evicted here, with Morgan winning the veto. Nominations will stay the same, and Keanu is at this moment set to be evicted. So we don't know yet who's going to be the last HOH or not the last HOH, but the final four HOH. And so, no clue what's going to happen as we get to Thursday, really. But, Jenna, what are your thoughts on just this sped up end game that we have this season? Because it is much faster paced than we have had in recent years. So, what are your thoughts on this setup for the season, the end game of the season?
I really love the setup of the sped up end game. I think the producers really did their big one here with doing a kind of a half week and a half week all in one week. I think that that's a really good way to go about it if you kind of like know what's going to happen. I think it was good for them to have the veto competition on Friday night after the nominations were made, especially like they already knew they were all playing in the veto. So like there was just no need to wait. So that was really good. Um, I think that the setup of it is really good. Regarding Keanu, I think it's like it's good that his time has finally come. He's been a target since week two. I mean, even week one, like he was kind of rubbing some people the wrong way. Whenever the feeds came on, they were kind of like tired of hearing him talk. Like, but I think like watching his journey throughout has been really entertaining, and I loved his relationship with Rachel. And I will never forget his conversation with Vince after he won his HOH in the wine room, and Keanu was basically telling Vince that he was putting him on the block. That was one of my personal favorite moments to watch of this season because I watched it on the live feeds and I was definitely very entertained because I thought we were losing Rachel that week. So to hear that he was putting Vince up was music to my ears. So that was very fun and they're kind of dynamic and maybe like him constantly being wrong, constantly not getting his way throughout this season. He's just been a very fun character to watch, like kind of knowing that and knowing that he's gonna get evicted this week is like I don't know, kind of sad, but also like it's been his time to go for the entire game, basically. So it's kind of like nice that he's gonna go to kind of like set up a better like end game for like Morgan and Ashley and who I'm rooting for. But I think his time to go. But I thought that he brought added a lot of value to this season. But I am glad that he is kind of getting to go home during this nice, clean, sped up week.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's obviously like everyone kind of saw Keanu as a strong competitor here, and always putting him up on the block and then him taking himself off or on the veto or in a blockbuster. So I think with that, like, there's also, it's like the Kelly effect of it too. It's like, well, it just now it's Keanu's turn. It's like he's been a target so many times that it's now it's like it's time.
Yeah, I think since Rachel left, his kind of storyline has really been over. And so I think that I'm glad that he is probably the one to go here, just because I think that we need Morgan and Vincent there together for the whole season. We need them there till the end because otherwise this is gonna be a really dull end game. So even though we only have what, like 3 4 days anyways left, so, or I guess exactly a week from today as we're recording this. But yeah, I think that it's time, and so I'm okay with him leaving here. But let's get into some of our other players here. We'll just kind of go through each one of them, and as we go, we'll kind of give a little draft update as we have our final five. So let's start with Ashley. So Ashley, Jenna, she is your last player remaining. You also you had Lauren, Will, Zach, Amy, and why am I blanking on his name? Jimmy, thank you. I don't know why wanted to say Scotty. I'm like, that's not his name. No, Jimmy, of course. And Ashley is your one player remaining here. How do you feel about your girl Ashley?
I love Ashley personally. I do not know if she's going to win the game. I think her only winning chance is sitting next to Vince in the final two. But I have absolutely loved having her represent my draft the entire season. I was a little bit nervous to when I saw Feats come back and she was like the house target, but I think I was really proud of her ability to kind of let or shift that mindset in the eyes of the house, like after the first couple of weeks. Like, she wasn't on anyone's radar anymore, and especially her work that she's done with Morgan and just kind of in general the past couple of weeks, saving herself whenever she was up against Will, flipping those votes, was really great work by her, and I was really impressed by it. I unfortunately just don't see like a whole lot of winning potential since she's in the house with Morgan, but I really love her, and I'm very happy to say that I've personally liked every single person on my draft throughout the entire season, my draft team throughout the entire season. I can't necessarily say the same about either of your guys' teams. So I
Now,
think
wait a minute.
I'm just
Well, you didn't
Hold
know.
on.
We didn't really know anything. So.
no, I know, but I
You're saying you weren't a fan of Zay?
I don't know anything about Zay, Michael. Like, Zay is not. I unfollowed him. I'm sorry, but no, I'm just saying. Like, looking back, I'm happy to say that I'm still I still like my entire draft team, and that not the sorry, we can separate that, but it was fun to watch my draft team play this season, and I picked some goodies despite the fact that some of them went home early. I loved watching Will play. I thought he had a great social game. He also got screwed over by the twist, RIP. But overall, I like my draft team a lot, and even though Zach's an idiot for not using the power, but it also did not allow Ava to get $10,000. So I can't complain too much, but overall I don't see Ashley winning, but I absolutely adore her. She's my fave.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, Molly, well, I am basically out on my draft here because Keanu's my last pick and he is about to go home any day now. So, any hour now, really. So unfortunately, it looks like going into the finale, I am going to be out here. We've already talked about Keanu, so we don't need to go through his game again. But Molly, let's get to all three of your players. You have a full group almost here going into the finale, which is very impressive. But let's start with Ava. So Ava was your fourth pick here. How have you been feeling about Ava's game?
Yeah, I mean, in the beginning, I liked Ava, and then I kind of stopped liking her as much. But I think that, I mean, she's gone along with everyone in the house for the most part, I feel like, and that's keeping her in the game here, and just her social aspect of that. Her gameplay, not so much. But I feel like with that, like she doesn't really have a shot at actually winning. They're just keeping her here just as like a safety of like, okay, we can beat you kind of situation. But I mean, she's fun in general, I guess. I mean, there's parts of her that I'm like annoyed about, but there's overall, I think she's fun.
Yeah, I think that it seems like everyone in the house really thinks that Ava must be like America's favorite outside of here, which early on, I mean, they were kind of right, but that certainly has changed, especially since Rachel's elimination. But yeah, I don't think that Ava really has any winning chances at all. But I also don't necessarily, I really struggle to see a world where Vince and Morgan aren't the final two.
Yeah.
So I don't even know if
Yeah.
she'll get that chance,
We'll
but
see.
we will see.
And then so
Um,
Vince, should we go to Vince next?
yeah, let's go to
Um,
Vince. What are your
he
thoughts on
was my
Vince's game?
second pick. So I had a feeling just because of the unemployed and the archetype of like, I don't know, he just seemed to be that like he was gonna bring the drama or bring some chaos and the gameplay. And I mean, sometimes he did, sometimes the gameplay wasn't good. But I think he was just fun to watch throughout the season, obviously, like also kind of playing both sides and not really knowing who he was going to go with until last minute. And that made it for some excitement here. But I think that, I mean, he's won a lot of HOHs, so that's been great for his game in terms of having power in the house. But I don't know. I feel like in general, like maybe not good for his game in general, but like in good for his in terms of saying he's won stuff. So
And he was
with
very upset about not winning this last veto that Morgan won. He wanted to
yeah.
add another tally on his competition wins.
Yeah, so that's a big one. But I feel like I mean so that could get Morgan a chance over him, but an edge there. But I think in general, I mean obviously with his drama also with back home and having his ex or now hopefully ex, his girlfriend of 6 years, 7 years,
7,
like
yeah.
7.
7 years, yeah. And now
Crazy.
him being with Morgan in this way, it's just it puts a more of a tainted view of me on Vince. I feel like because I thought I wanted to like Vince and root for him, and now I'm just like he's a cheater,
Hmm.
or emotionally cheating, not physically, but I mean hugging to the extent
Yeah.
some physical. So yeah, there's that, but I feel like in the game sense of it, like he does have a shot at winning here, especially against Ava or Ashley, but but not against Morgan.
Yeah, I remember preseason when we were doing the draft. I was so mad I didn't get Vince because I really, really thought that he was a good pick. And he was kind of, we thought a super fan and that he was going to play a really good game. Like, I think everyone was really, really high on Vince and was certainly not the player that anyone expected him to be, I think, preseason. But let's go over to Morgan. Jenna, let's start with you on Morgan. What do you think of Morgan's chances to win at the end game here?
I think that Morgan has the greatest chance of winning amongst everyone that is left. I have really seen her kind of right or not only prove herself in competitions, she's now won 4 HOHs or no 4 vetoes and an HOH, and she's really secured herself immunity the past 5 rounds. And I am really proud of how she's transformed her game after losing her close allies in Zach and Mickey, because it seemed like she was working with them closer than she was with Vince. And so after specifically Zach left and kind of Mickey became a house pariah, she was able to adapt, and she was like a target on Rachel's HOH, and then that same week she formed an alliance with Rachel and Ashley and Will, and the fact that the way she was able to pivot was really impressive, and I'm really proud of like the work that she's done throughout this season. And also like I was really down on her after she was like convincing Mickey to put up Jimmy, because I think that losing them was like not great for her game, or losing Jimmy was not great for either of their games. And it was just kind of weird to me that the only two options were Vince and Jimmy. I just like don't understand why she wouldn't consider putting someone else up as the third nominee. But I thought it was weird for them to nominate Jimmy, but that's kind of where Morgan lost me. But then once she kind of became more self aware during Rachel's HOH after she was put on the block for the first time, like she really kicked it into gear, turned it around, and started thinking more strategically, and has been able to back that up with competition wins. Her control over Vince, like I've mentioned, is something to write home about. Like she really has this in the palm of her hand. I think this game is hers to lose. So I'm really just I've loved watching her journey throughout it, and I'm rooting for her to win.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I hope she does in terms of my draft. But I think that she does have a good shot at winning here as well. I agree with all the things you said, Jenna, and I feel like she, because my interpretations of her like going into the game was like she was a gamer and that side of things. I was like, oh, she's gonna like think through situations, which I don't know how much she did. Like like I wanted to see more of her like strategic thinking in this season, but I feel like emotions got in her way a lot of the time too. So like I wish that were a different factor in her game throughout the season, but obviously like from what we have, like she has played the best game of both who people are of left. So I don't know. I think she does have a really good shot at winning.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that it is definitely her game to lose, which if you had said that to me after Zach's eviction and she was crying over him taking his toothbrush out of the trash,
The
like all that stuff,
bracelet.
if you had told me that she was going to be our winner of Big Brother 27, I would not have believed you. But I mean, I think basically ever since then, her game has just kind of been on the upswing. And I agree. I think I have struggled to see a world where she doesn't win this season. So we will find out 1 week from today as we're recording this, less than a week when you're listening to it. So we will certainly be back to cover that. And thank you all so much for listening. Thank you, Jenna, so much for joining us. It was so good to have you back here. Do you want to plug your social media where people can find you?
Yeah, thanks everyone for joining, and or thanks for allowing me to come back. I love talking about Big Brother and Dancing with the Stars, so I appreciate you guys having me back on the pod. Yeah, my Instagram is Jenna Quirky. And if you're into social media or into these shows that we were talking about, I'm constantly tweeting at Power of Veto. Um, something I came up with when I was in high school. But that's where all my thoughts will come out around these shows. But excited to see how this season ends. And thanks again for having me back.
Of
Yes,
course.
of course. Well, thank you guys so much for listening. We will be back next week, and be sure to follow us on social media at Let's Chat Reality and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. So we will chat with you guys next week. Bye, everyone.
Bye.